United States is changing its tactic after it says Iran and its proxies could be planning to threaten US forces and interests in the Middle East. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo cancelling his planned visit to Moscow. Instead, he's in Brussels. There, the State Department says a range of pressing issues will be discussed, including Iran, with representatives from the UK, Germany and France. Pompeo's counterparts from those countries and EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini will discuss a response to Iran's threat of breaching certain commitments of the 2015 nuclear deal. Mogherini saying this morning that everything should be done to avoid escalation around the issue. Defence correspondent Daniel Semach reports.
The belligerent rhetoric between the United States and Iran is heating up. The U.S. has issued a new warning to its Navy after 4 commercial vessels were targeted off the coast of the UAE. At least 2 Saudi Arabian oil tankers were damaged. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo arriving in Brussels Monday after canceling a scheduled visit to Moscow to meet with European allies and discuss the recent threatening actions and statements by Iran.
We continue to fully support the nuclear deal with Iran, its full implementation, and so we'll continue to support it as much as we can with all our instruments and all our political will. This is very well known, I think, both in Washington and in Tehran.
But political will aside, things seem to be escalating. Just one day ago, Iranian media cited a commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard saying the U.S. military presence in the Gulf used to be a serious threat, but now represented a target. That target being anything from American aircraft carriers to naval destroyers or air defense systems and cruise missiles. All have been mobilized to the Gulf. And the world is taking notice.
We are very worried about the risk of a conflict happening by accident, with an escalation that is unintended really on either side, but ends with some kind of conflict.
Both Iran and the United States have engaged in warring rhetoric in the past, even mobilizing aircraft carriers, only to then call them back. But with incidents like the sabotage of oil tankers off the UAE coast, even an accident could bring about a more aggressive confrontation. Daniel Semach, I-24 News.
Dr. Emily Landau is a senior research fellow at INSS and the head of the Arms Control and Regional Security Program, and she joins me in studio with further insight. Dr. Landau, it's always a pleasure.
Hi, good evening.
Now, there's concern that Trump's maximum pressure campaign might not, in fact, force Iran to yield, but instead rather drive Iran back to a path of re-nuclearization. What, to your mind, is more likely?
Well, it's hard to say at this point. Iran is making threats, I think, out of desperation. Their major message actually was not to the United States, but rather to the Europeans that have not been able to successfully create a mechanism that would circumvent U.S. sanctions, and therefore they're not getting the economic deals that they were hoping for. But it's not working this time. The EU is sending messages that if Iran starts, stops adhering to some of its commitments, they will view this as a serious development, and there will be consequences for that. They didn't even get support from Russia. So I think Iran is looking around and seeing that it's not getting the support that it hoped it would get.